look at it. It's an hour at a time in Sunday school and prayer and worship, and it builds up over time. And you know, like I know, you can't look at somebody's biological age and know how mature they are in Christian faith. There can be still promise and hope in that, because our great and loving God keeps on sowing the seed, even for like the thief on the cross. God was so patient, he waited for him before heartbeats, before death, to win that one for the kingdom. But what did Jesus say on the cross, hanging next to him? Today you'll be with me in paradise. Okay? So how do people not understand the word? Is it because, well, I'm here, I should get it, I should have full rights, you know, give it to me now. I can ask Siri anything else. You know, if we dig up certain young folks in 100 years, their thumbs are going to look like chicken thighs because they're so 29 seconds and instant access to all this information. But information is about 11 inches different than believing. We're talking about matters of the point. Even the devils, the demons, the bad angels, know about Jesus. We're talking about believing. And some who don't understand, it's like that seed coming and the evil one snatches it up. They don't understand, and what has been sown in the heart is taken away. There's sadness in this, because this is not what we want seed to do. The seed that was sown hasn't done its full work. But it happens in this time, in this generation. Sometimes the seed sown falls on along the path of hard-packed hearts, and is taken away. Let's go on. Next, please. This one is the rocky ground. Now, you have better rocks here at HKIA and at OCAB than we have at Father America. I would bet you a whole nickel that some civil engineer years ago tried to save the United States Air Force money and bought bigger rocks. But they're harder to walk on. Sergeant Iser and I, we tease about them as being terrorist rocks or ninja rocks, because you never know which one's going to get you. You know, you're stepping on and all of a sudden you start rolling your ankle and all that. So the rocks here are smaller. But that reminds me of some of the stuff we've been walking around on during our tour in Afghanistan. Now, flying into here, it's fascinating to see from the helicopters in Afghanistan, if you water it, it can grow. And there was one time when I was taking some pictures in one of the helos one of the other weeks we came down here, and there were all these like little ditches or scorings in a field, and the fields all have walls around them. So it's almost like New Testament. You know, protect your vineyard because there are all these walls. And with the groves, I trust that is precious, because if you're using precious water to grow precious plants, you don't want animals or others to come and steal your fruit out of your grove and all of that. But then one time I saw how there was water glinting off the irrigation ditches. So they hadn't finished, they had planted baby plants, but you couldn't see the green yet, but they were watering these plants. So hopefully they can find better dirt than just rocky soil. Let's talk about the rocky soil. I suppose we could call those whose seed falls on rocky soil fair weather believers. Do you know what a fair weather fan looks like? You know, whether you root for American football or soccer or rugby or some other sport, fair weather fans are all there when the team's winning. But when the team's not winning, a bunch of losers. Now, I have a friend who's a Chicago Cubs fan, and he's been doing that for 55 years. They finally won the World Series in baseball, so his long faith paid off on some level. He was not a fair weather fan. But here, these are fair weather believers. Why? How? Well, the water can get to seeds that fall on the rocks, and they germinate. They spring up with joy. And sometimes new believers are all excited. I don't mind that. But the walk of Christian faith is a marathon, isn't it? It's not a sprint. It's not how you do in the first 10 minutes. Not how you do in the first 2 months. Not how you do in the first 2 years. It's for a lifetime and for eternity. Okay? And sometimes things come and challenging and difficult. And I don't see God promising anywhere in Scripture that just because we're His children, that we get a sweetened deal that life won't happen to us. Right. In fact, we become tastier morsels for the evil one, don't we? And that's a letter.
pull us away, tug us away. And so these sprouts come up with joy, but then it fizzles. I don't know how plants fizzle, but it means they don't keep growing. Rootedness is important. Rootedness is important to stand up in those times of challenge, those times of struggle. Tribulation and persecution are mentioned, but it's tribulation and persecution because of the Word. Are Christians persecuted in our time, day and age? Yes. And in some of your countries, even more so than mine. Although, as I talk with Americans, sometimes persecution is becoming less subtle. And it's being more overt against Christians in the United States. Yes, there's still freedom of religion, but the role models aren't publicly portrayed. Can you name an American movie where Christians are portrayed? I'll be careful here, because you can think of Facing the Giants and some Christian movies that have positive Christian role models, but in the bigger sweep of Hollywood movies, can you name positive Christian role models? Pastors are typically money-grubbing, women-chasing, It's sad. And we have stories like you may have in your countries of people dying for their faith. The Columbine shootings in Colorado, 10, 15 years ago already? A young 17-year-old girl was asked, "Do you believe in Jesus?" "Yes." Bang. And she was killed for her faith. Christians are being killed in this century and in the 20th century more than in the centuries before. That surprised us. So, how not to be a fair weather believer? Because tribulation and persecution comes. They killed our Lord. I'll be surprised when the sheep are scattered. So the rootedness. Corn plants, and you may know this, when they get, in Minnesota it was always, we hoped that the corn plant would grow knee-high by the 4th of July, our national birthday, Day of Independence. But when the corn gets taller, my size or so, it tassels out so the pollens can fall on the stilts, but it grows little storm roots, we'll call them. Okay, the stalk is probably, inch and a half around, and near the ground, just above the ground, probably 4 or 5 inches above the ground, the corn stalk will grow these little storm roots. They just kind of come out from the stalk and they go in the ground, so that in the storm, it has a whole lot more stability. How do we help people to grow roots in their faith so they can stand strong in the winds that will come? Because the winds do come. Sometimes it's with illness. Sometimes it's with job struggles. Sometimes it's being hurt when we're downrange deployed for our countries. There's all of those things. Struggles will come. How do we not just be fair weather believers? Do you know the story how in the early Christian church, you remember how during the Roman rule and the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, up until 313 AD and the Edict of Milan by the Emperor Constantine, to be a Christian was still illegal. Illegal. So Christians met in the catacombs in Rome, and they met secretly in house churches, all these different ways. But when they were being persecuted, there were some during those persecutions who said, "Oh, we're supposed to fall down and worship the emperor? Okay, we don't believe in Jesus. Emperor worship." And the early church struggled. Should we let the traditores, the traitors, back into the church? They denounced their baptism. They said, "Jesus is no longer Lord. I'll worship the emperor so they can stay alive." But the early Christian church really struggled with fair weather believers. Are they really believers? They denounced Jesus. And so most often they kind of re-catechize them, retrain them. If you really want them back, Jesus, God is gracious and forgiving. How do we do that too? So how not to be a fair weather believer, seed that falls in the rocky ground? Let's go to the third one. And through all of these, I'd like you to be thinking about your life and your story. And where do you see your life fitting in, or others that you know? Have you been at times that were challenging and you struggled? Where are you at now? It's kind of all that we're talking about. But let's talk about thorns. Have you seen some of the thorns that grow in Afghanistan? They're ginormous, at least up at Bagram. Not that tall, flowers that are almost the size of my fist. Big, beautiful flowers. We've taken pictures of it. But boy, do those seeds blow. All over the place. Weeds choke out good plants, don't they? Weeds choke out good plants. Because they suck up the water in the ground, they take the nutrients, they grow their thorn bush. But what keeps, I don't know, somebody from eating thorns? Or eating a thorn bush? The thorns! And so here, this one, here's the word. Yet because of the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches, the word is choked. Those weeds steal all that replenishing, refreshing nature of the word of the Lord, and it takes away their joy, and the plant proves unfruitful. Are there cares in this world? Of course. And you know some of yours as I know some of mine. But I'm going to challenge you in saying, so often when we're caught in those cares, our reference point is me, you, rather than the Lord being our reference point. Because He promises, I will give you nothing that you cannot handle with His strength. Sometimes the cares of the world choke us because this is more than I can handle. And you talk to people, I talk to people sometimes where, hard things happen, and it's not just 1 or 2 or 3, but it's 4 and 5. Mom dies and sister gets cancer, and then the kids have money problems, and then there's marital stress, and it just goes on and on and on, where the burdens are real. It feels so heavy. The danger is turning in on ourselves, of focusing on ourselves. I feel down, I feel burdened, I'm loaded with cares. It's true, but let us look up and out and farther out. Sometimes I use the example, when you were learning driving training and you were going through a curve, did you ever look too short? And so your car was going through a curve like that because you were only looking 15 feet in front of the car, just a few meters. I remember being taught and instructed, look around the curve, and it just flows smoothly. Just like flying an airplane, flows smoothly. Okay? It's important that when cares of the world and all these tribulations come upon us, that we don't focus on them. Focus on them. So the word is not choked. Deceitfulness of riches. Let's talk about that for just a moment tonight. Deceitfulness of riches. When I talk with young Americans, I ask them sometimes, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's the typical answer? I don't care as long as I can be rich. Wow. Where did they learn that? It's not what we talk about at church. It's not what we talk about at Sunday school. It's not what we talk about in Bible class. It's a world's message, isn't it? Now, I know we all could imagine doing other things, or more things, or things that we might enjoy in life if we had even more money. But a root of all evil, and sometimes a second master, is money. And there's a deceitfulness that comes with that. When I came to Northern California, I preached at the Air Force Chapel there, and I noted even early on where there's a very much keeping up with the Joneses. Neighbors gets a bigger boat, I got to get a bigger boat too. They get a nicer car, I got to get a bigger car. And I talked about that. And I had an Air Force retiree come up to me afterwards and says, he didn't disagree with me, he says, I'll give you 6 months. As if he was assuming that I was going to get caught in that too. It was so prevalent that that's assumed. Yeah, that's just the way we are. And that's what's going to happen to you too. Lord, keep us from that. Because there is a deceitfulness of riches. And in the United States, if 80 to 90% of Americans believe in God, 40%, maybe now a little bit less, are in worship on a weekend. And in California, it's 10%. 10%. So the deceitfulness of riches has impacted a whole huge state that if it were a country would be the 8th largest economy in the world. The deceitfulness of riches, choking out faith in some, many, and certainly more. Let's go on to the 4th one. Good soil. Yes. Green plant, rich dirt, hard to see in the slide. This plant has been tilled, watered, fertilized, and if it keeps up, it's going to bear a harvest. A harvest of 30 and 60 and 100-fold. It will produce fruit. Can you see fruitfulness? Can you see growth in plants? Sure. Can you see growth? Can you see productivity and fruitfulness in the ways of faith with people? Can. Well, we are not able to see where the wind blows. We can see what the Holy Spirit does in people's lives, of changing Sauls to Paul, of changing who you have been and I have been into what we are. And yet God does not give up on us, and He hangs in there with us to help us to grow to what we can become still, yet, even in Him. So, productivity. How do we see it? Where do we notice it? Have you shared the faith with family? Have you shared it with your kids? Have you had those prayers around the dinner table and the supper table? And have you taught them about coming with you to Sunday school or to Bible class and to worship? That's productivity from one generation to the next as the Word is planted year after year, time after time. The sowing continues so that the faith is spread. What we're called to be a part of. As the Lord has had His way with us, He continues to enliven and grow us. Personally, in our families, in our worship communities, half a world away from home sometimes, He continues to grow us. As He waters us, tends us, fertilizes us, helps us to grow in our faith. Through His Word. Through His Word. It's that powerful, that's important. Through His Word. It's mentioned 6 times in Jesus' explanation. Through the Word. Through the Word. So next slide. Where are you? Here's a graphic of what we've talked about so far. Seed that falls first in the path, hard so the birds can come. It never even germinates. Rocky places, the water can get to it. It germinates and sprouts, but has no roots. Can't stand during tough times. And it's scorched when the sun comes and burns it. Can't stand in hard times. Thorns, other cares of the world, the deceitful of riches, the bad plants overgrow it, taking up those nutrients, overshadow it. People get distracted. People go off and do their own thing and forget about what's really important, only not just 15 feet ahead, but for eternity. Forget, in a way, and the plans of the church. The good soil. A crop. Productivity, fruitfulness, 30, 60, 100-fold. So where have you been? Where are you at? Where are you growing? Where are you going? We're willing, with His grace, His mercy, we're going to come. And Lord, add your blessing to us so that we can continue to grow. Because here's His wonderful promise. Next slide, please. Here from Isaiah 55, 10 and 11. I think the print is large enough. Join me as we read this. A wonderful promise about God's Word. For as the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and do not return there, but water the earth, making it bring forth and sprout, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed in the thing for which I sent it. What a wonderful promise there, as Isaiah speaks to God's people in his time, that God's word has power and it's effective. We're called to sow. We don't know which one's going to believe, but for the highways and byways and to all people possible, Lord, use us as we keep on sowing the seed that by all possible means more might believe and more might be saved. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Spread it. Next slide. Because truly, truly, all of this is a matter of heart, isn't it? That's the soil on which God spreads His seed. Created good, in the fall, broken, the relationship with God destroyed, until restored. He wants all of us back again. So many, too many, continue to stiff-arm the Lord. Do not follow. The Lord wants not just a piece of you, not just a Sunday night piece of you. He wants all of us. He wants all of you all the time for the work of His kingdom, because He still reigns. Last slide. Next, please. One thing that we didn't talk about at the beginning. You've seen the picture before. Do you know what it's called in Christian artwork when you've got that little, it's different than a halo. A halo goes this way. This thing in the paintings goes the other direction. Do you know what that's called in artwork? Anybody ever heard the term? Know the term? It's called a nimbus. N-I-M-B-U-S. A nimbus. Sometimes it's around the disciples, but when it has a gold and a highlight around it, that's pointing to Jesus. I didn't say that before, because that's the best place to end. Imagine this parable with Jesus as the sower. Yes. Our Lord is not only the sower, but look at his words from John chapter 12. He's also the grain. Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Has not Jesus led the way? Has not Jesus shown us the way? He points to himself. And he, as that grain, went all the way of being sacrificed for us, of dying, that we could be counted among the fruitfulness of the kingdom of God. We are among those counted as his seed, that which is called to grow, and then in turn produce more seed, to bear more fruit for the kingdom, to pass it on to the next generation, and those around us in this generation. And how cool, and I trust you will tell stories about coming to worship at this place in Afghanistan. The Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. As Christians, we're free to gather in this place. Hallelujah. To share the joy of this one who sacrificed for us, who died, and then in rising, gives us life. As his word continues to grow us, as he waters us in baptism, as he fertilizes us with his word, not just once a week, regularly, daily, constantly, so that we can bring much fruit. He showed us the life of sacrifice, died to bear much fruit, so that we can keep on sowing, by all possible means, more of the self. Thanks be to God that he uses us, that by his grace we are numbered among those who are all faithful and fruitful. And Lord, use us to be multiplied. Lord, use us so that our heritage and legacy can be 30, 60, 100. Jesus is our hope. He encourages us to keep on sowing. And God's people say, Amen. And amen. Amen. Yeah, let's give the Lord a hand. All right. Here's some things, and who's going to do the announcements tonight? Well, anybody? Or should I just turn around and choose the slide? If something has changed, let us know. All right. You can see the Bible studies, time of intercessory prayer, the Wednesday Bible study. We'll see if movie night happens again by Thursday. There is a new soundboard, so the Lord did provide. It's good to get it connected. And the choir practice is on both Friday and Saturday night, typically, unless there's another event here. Next slide, please. There's a men's Bible study, 1900 Saturday evenings. Is there one more? Oh, the Sanctum of Benediction. As I found you 9 weeks ago in the care of the Lord, I leave you in the care of the Lord. It's the best place for any of us, anywhere, anytime. And this is my favorite part of the service. Because the last piece that we hear from the Lord, with the word from him, is the word of blessing. Could you imagine, we're going to use the Aaronic blessing here. It's not ironic. It's not ironic. It's the blessing of Aaron from Numbers chapter 6. But imagine if the Lord, in his mercy, did not lift up his face towards us, did not look at us with his countenance, but turned his back on us. It's a different relationship with our beloved Daddy. Daddy, you can't even look us in the eye. So the neat thing of this blessing, as we talk about the Lord blessing, keeping you, the Lord making his face to shine on you, it's that looking upon you with that kind of heavenly delight. And when he lifts up his countenance, he sees his children being fruitful. Yes, sinners, but sinners forgiven. So stand with me for a minute and receive the blessing of the Lord. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace, that you may be fruitful for the work of his kingdom. And God's people say, Amen and amen. Please have a seat for a minute, in that as we say some goodbyes, Sergeant Iser, Sergeant Anastasia, come on down here. You've heard us tell stories about how Mark was getting short. He has done absolutely tremendous work in holding down Chaplain Ministries, moving them forward. And so we brought a little thank you from our team as you've been helping us the past few weeks. But I wanted to bring you up in front of this part of the worship community. And you might not like it, but it is important that we have a chance to say thank you. And as we give you thanks, we'll give God the glory for your support of the ministry and your carrying on, especially as it's been so challenging with Chaplain Anderson having to come down early to take care of his life. So all of our best to you. Safe travels to you here in the next days. And we pray God's blessings upon your reintegration. You were earlier in our prayers earlier. I don't know if you've stepped back in yet. As you go back to your family in Germany. And the goal of reintegration is not to do it quickly, it's the goal is to do it well. And so and if you get to stay another 1, 2, or 3 years there in Germany, you'll have that chance to continue to enjoy your life and care for it. So join me in expressing thanks to Marco as we give the glory for his service.
I got something to say. I just want to appreciate the 455th wing for supporting us. We were able to continue services here in ministry, and we have more chaplains than I've ever had work in my diploma settings. We have Police Chaplain, we have Chaplain Padre, and Padre is
Chaplain religious
on leave, and we have a lot of people coming in and out of here, and just appreciate you guys being patient with us. So that's an awesome thing.
And he's one of the most professional, motivated, top-notch chaplain assistants, I think, in the chaplain corps. He's been absolutely amazing. So he coordinated all of our travel, lodging, everything. So without him and everything he's done to just the nth degree, highest of standards. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, I just want to thank the crew. I know the other folks, they were here serving God and serving all of us. And I just want to present them a simple token of our appreciation from the Valley Point Chapel. This is something that we usually give to our folks, but we're happy to give it to you guys.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. All right. Well, again, God's blessings on the rest of your week as you continue to be blessed, to be fruitful. I look forward to reading the Lord.